This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
The Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Purdy Insurance and MacTac. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance and MacTac. Now, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. It doesn't matter what your insurance need is. They'll take care of it. They'll make sure you're fully insured so that you're taken care of, and they'll do everything they can to save you money because customer service is an 85-year standard at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Speaking of setting a high standard, the bar is always set high with Neal Coolong. Sir, welcome.
You bet. As always, it's my pleasure to be here. I hope you guys are having a good day.
We'll do the low-hanging fruit to start with. Game 2 of the preseason was Will Howard starting, and then Drew Aller after that. How did you look at the two quarterbacks in Game 2 against the Jets?
I think it's difficult to pin this down in a realistic way, considering what the circumstances are. But as you've heard me rant many times in this segment, you don't evaluate stats in the preseason. What you're looking at, I should say, you don't evaluate the results, which are oftentimes conveyed as the stats. As I sit here today, I have no idea what the quarterback's numbers are. I didn't look at that. That wasn't the idea. That's not the exercise in the preseason. I felt, and by a pretty wide margin, Aller showed that he's the better of the two, and I think we kind of knew that going in. Clearly he has much stronger physical tools than Howard does. Howard, with the two plays that I think people probably talked about the most, two interceptions, I don't necessarily think were his fault out and out. But when you get into the lawyer versus lawyer argument of whose fault something was, you kind of lose the context of it. I didn't feel either of them were particularly good decisions. I will say that he certainly locked in on what he wanted. He delivered a pretty strong pass on each of them, but I don't think they were all that smart of reads looking at where the defense was. The issue comes down to Roman Wilson and what exactly he was doing on the play. Well, I would argue on one of them, he bent the route probably a bit wider than he should have if you look at it literally. But if he were to cut straight across, he's running into two other receivers with two defenders. I'm not sure how the play was drawn up. It kind of seems like something else went wrong that we probably won't know about. But Howard overall, I don't think Howard played particularly well. Mistakes may not have been totally on him, but the guy who throws the ball has to share some of the responsibility to some degree. But Aller overall, again, a few passes he probably wants back, and I think McCarthy put in a few situation-based throws he wanted to see, and he kind of missed on that a little bit. It's weird with him. The simple stuff, it just seems like he's still so hyped up about everything else. He's launching missiles over guys' heads that are 7 yards away. The touch piece of it in the short game, I think, is something that you need to develop. That's oftentimes kind of a timing and a rhythm thing. Not too worried about that overall, though you do need to look at them as negatives. But Aller made two throws in that game that I don't think there's a whole lot of quarterbacks in the NFL would have made, chosen to have made. The confidence that he's playing with, the poise, I think, overall, that he's showing really kind of suggests to me, I think the competition is over as far as Obviously they were going to keep him, but where he is on the team, what he's going to do, he very well could be the backup. It wouldn't surprise me if that ended up. But more than anything, this is the first audition for him for next year's starting job. And I got to think where they're sitting now, they got to be pretty happy with what they have. I think they have a starting quarterback, provided he continues to work. Obviously, there are a lot of rough edges that he needs to smooth out, but there's a lot to really like from what we've seen in 2 games so far from him. And I'm looking forward to watching him again on Thursday to see if he can kind of wrap a bow on this and put the first training camp and preseason away and kind of look forward to competing next year. I don't think it's a good thing if he gets on the field this year, but who knows? I mean, they may be happy with his continued progress. I just don't think he's going to get as much time with the team to really be prepared for that kind of a job. But I really like what I've seen of Aller so far, and if I've spoken negatively of him, I take all that back. He looks really good. I think they've got a good building block for a potential starter in the future.
Right. And I've said from the beginning with people, I said Will Howard has to overcome being an RPO quarterback trying to play a pro system. Drew doesn't have to do that. Pro system is actually more of who he is as a quarterback. So I think that's just an easier adjustment, and I think it's showing in the first couple of games the ability to adjust quickly to a pro system versus having to be an RPO quarterback that has to adjust to a pro system.
Yeah, I think you hit that square on the head. And to be honest with you, let's go back. Let's say our segment after the draft, if you bring that subject up, I probably would have said either way, completing passes, throwing the ball, reading a defense is a fundamental characteristic that every quarterback has to have. And does he show that? In college, I don't know if I saw it often enough, but I'll keep saying this. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to blame a coaching staff or a scheme for a college quarterback not doing well in college, okay? It's just I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But there's a difference. There really is. And you have to wonder if it isn't just Aller's got this sense of confidence about him now that he doesn't have to do all of that. He's dropping back. He's identifying where the ball needs to go, and he's delivering it. And that throw at the end, and the receiver dropped it, which I don't care. It doesn't make a difference if the receiver caught the ball or not. The throw that he made, though, down the seam to the guy, there is literally no window there. He drops it because I don't think the receiver thinks there's any way in the world that ball is coming to him. It could not have hit him any better than that. That's just an incredible throw. And the read is really, I know that I can make this throw where the receiver needs to have it. I don't care if he's open or not. This is the spot we're going to go. There's some daylight in my mind available on this throw, and he drilled it. That's a big-time throw. Very impressed. I think, and in a way, and I'll get criticized for this, I'm sure, but in a way, there's almost some Joe Flacco to him in the sense that Flacco is a guy that really long, really lanky, not a bad athlete, but not a very good one. Right. It took him kind of a bit to get going. When he had that rhythm, though, when he dropped a certain distance and he's looking at a certain spot, there was never anywhere else Joe Flacco was more confident in his entire life than that throw. That exact seam throw down the middle, he drilled that. And he didn't do that when he was younger, but as he got more time in, they started adding play action to it. They started adding some type of movement to kind of let him prime up for that throw. Aller seems to be able to do that just on his drop back. Like, he's seeing it. He knows right where he wants to go with it, and bam, he puts it right in the spot. He's done that a couple times. And I'm very, very impressed with the arm strength that we've obviously seen. His best throws are ones that he's not even stepping into. You see how strong his arm is. And great confidence coming off of him each and every one of these plays. It's not to say that he's perfect, and who knows, maybe he throws 2 interceptions against Buffalo on Thursday. Right. The fact is, we're seeing a vastly different mental quarterback than we saw when he was at Penn State, in my opinion, at least. I'm excited. I can't imagine Mike McCarthy's not excited for what he has here either.
Yeah, I agree. Now, they do have an issue, though, with Joey Porter Jr., a guy that they do want to get back. And, of course, his contract is a question right now, and he has not been available to them at this point. In your opinion, is there a level of importance to getting him back out there based on what you've watched?
Yeah, you need football conditioning. you get to a point where perhaps the veterans, I mean, a guy like Jalen Ramsey just came off PUP. We'll never know if he was actually hurt or not. He probably wasn't, but I don't know how many training camps Jalen Ramsey needs. You know, you need him in December and January too. Let's not wear him down now. And this is a team too. Keep in mind, it's a new defense, but that means new players. They got a lot of new guys that are coming in that were brought in for specific reasons, things that this team didn't do last year. So they need reps as well. A guy like Ramsey, maybe he gets kind of lost in the shuffle. Porter, I think, is in between that. There are a couple things you have to look at here. One, the team put him on the PUP list. He's allegedly hurt, which I don't think anybody believes he's actually hurt. What that means is the team is giving him the ability to hold in, you know, to not participate in training camp while they theoretically work out a long-term contract. Two, the Steelers have all the leverage. You know, people are acting like Porter's a free agent, like he can walk in week one if he wants to. That's absolutely not the case. Not only do they have him on the cheap this year, certainly play for play. There's not a whole lot of cheaper players for production in the NFL than Joey Porter. But two, they have the ability to tag him next season. So you're looking at, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you're looking at 2 years, 28 to 30 million, something like that. Yeah. That's what he wants in year one of an extension. And I don't blame him, but if you're the team, it's like, well, you know, you're under contract. We don't have to pay you right now. If it's not the deal we want, we're not going to give that to you. And then you get into, this is exactly why the owners have the franchise tag. So this is a 2-year low-dollar deal for a high-performance player like Porter. Holding in, it's pretty much the only thing he can do. But if he wants to get paid what he is supposed to get paid this season, he has to play. So come practice time for week one, you can bet that you're going to see him out there, even if they don't get a deal done. Though I think I could see it happening, but if the Steelers want to be on the low end of things, they absolutely can. They can just give him the hometown discount type of offer and say, take it or leave it. If you don't want to do that, we can talk next year, and we're not afraid of your value going up. In fact, we expect it to because you're one of the best players. But the fact is, we don't have to pay you that right now, so we're not going to. Let's see what happens. I get that from a business perspective. These things happen all the time, but I would point out T.J. Watt's done this twice, and he got contracts leading into week one, so it wouldn't surprise me. The only holdout that I would have on that, the only hesitation I would have is to say they've spent a lot this offseason. And keep in mind, this is the rule that comes up often. Every team that signs a player to a contract with guaranteed money has to hold 80% of that of those dollars, the guaranteed money, in escrow, meaning they have to pay it, just not to the player, 80% of it. So if you're going to give him $90 million guaranteed, they've got to have somebody do the math on that quickly. With $72 million, they've done that with 3 other players. That's a lot of money for a team that it's not the Cowboys. They're not as liquid, I think, as a lot of other teams in the NFL. So that's tough financially. I don't know where they are in their books, but that's a lot of money that they'd have to hold off paying up front when they don't have to pay Porter that much. So it would not surprise me if they kind of look to say, look, if we can get a deal here, we'll give it to you. But if you want market value, we're probably not going to do that now. We'll talk next year.
I do have to ask you about, and this is a little bit off topic, but when you have a guy that's in the New Orleans Saints camp and plays, and now is going to go to LSU, and you've got a tight end for the Cleveland Browns who is begging to be cut so he can go back to LSU, and you've got 13 other guys that are in that lawsuit, including one for the Tampa Bay Bucks who's talking about going to LSU. How do you view this unnatural, because it's always been natural, high school to college, college to the pros. So this is an unnatural change. How do you view that?
I think this could be the most debilitating and confusing issue that has hit sports probably in our lifetime. And it's along the lines of what you said. There is a progression, and we're used to that. We're used to the sun rising in the east, and we're used to it going high school to college, college to the pros. We're no longer doing that for reasons that really kind of come down to one guy. Lane Kiffin seems to be the one who's disrupting all of this.
Yep.
There is a benefit for a few players. There are only negative consequences that are going to come from this for a lot of people. And already you've got two conferences that manage to put together emergency meetings. They meet, I don't know how many times during the year, not many, to basically unilaterally implement a rule that says we're not taking players back. We can't do this. The NFL can't do this. It would unravel the entire system that they have in place, and there's no backup for it. What are you going to do? I mean, all of a sudden now, Lane Kiffin's going to take a day and go, monitor every practice squad in the NFL and try to pick players. Where would it stop? There's nothing preventing any of this. And the difficulty is, from a legal perspective, the NCAA has gotten away with this for however long. It got away with it. I mean, they were unchallenged, and this was the system that, contrary to popular belief, makes the most sense for what we have. It's hard to undo all of that. They're in place for that reason. If there is no distinction anymore, if really it's joining one league to another, which is where this is going to go, we're going to have to view these from the perspective that the NFL and the NCAA are competing entities. There's no other way to look at it anymore. Where is eligibility? You and I have talked about this. Diego Pavia would have been perfect to go back to Vanderbilt. I'm sure they would have loved to have him back. And we joked about that, but there was a real possibility that something like that could come up. And now you have to wonder how many more legal challenges are going to come up from this. How many more judges are going to say, the NCAA is useless, sign whatever player to whatever you want. All of that, from a legal perspective, from a historical perspective, it makes sense because the NCAA has never been challenged. But now that it has and it's losing consistently, I don't know how they have a product. But can we do any of this without it? And we all want to say that we can, but how do we pick up that slack? The only way is to basically say pro football is its own gigantic entity. The NFL does this. You have this other thing for other people that I guess they'll want to do that if that option is available, but without any real legal distinction between the two, which is to say amateur versus pro, you can't really, nothing is separating it from basically making the NFL scout and draft high school players. And you get into that, the NFL owners do not want to add 10x to their payroll, which is what they're going to have to do if they have to go recruit the entire country. How many players are never going to get a dime for anything that they do? How many injuries are going to come from it? How do you organize that? Without the NCAA, the NFL has to absorb college football, and they're not even remotely interested in organizing that to the level that the NCAA is able to. So this whole thing, it's pulling on the thread of a very big sweater, and it's going to be an absolute mess. And as a non-legal expert, I don't know where it goes or how we end up with anything, but I don't think there is any reason in the world why even a Browns player should go back to college. I mean, it's nonsense. It's not going to work. There's going to be problems from this. To say nothing of the fact, I can't even imagine the amount of money that guy's going to get anyway. He probably could have found a job on a practice squad somewhere paying him more or less the same amount. But if you went to a pro camp and you weren't going to make the team and you go back to college to get paid, you're never going back to the NFL. There's no way they're going to take you now. So
that's right.
Just a mess. Just an absolute mess. Then you have the lawsuits for collusion, which will come up. It's going to challenge the definition of that word because it is collusion, but you have to protect your business too. Where do you draw the line on that? I don't know. Lawyers are going to make a lot of money for a long time on this.
Well, collusion would be if they all decided in a group not to do it. You can individually say we're not signing them, and I wouldn't sign them in a million years. And I'm not colluding with anybody. If I'm running a team, I don't sign them. I don't want a guy like that. I just don't.
I agree. Absolutely no way. It's like I don't like anything that this brings up or anything that this does. It's going to be a problem for everybody.
I mean, you have to, between Live Golf, NASCAR, the WNBA, and the NCAA, it is a race to the bottom as to which one is the poorest run.
What a great argument. Let's have that sometime. Let's look back at the 2020s and just say this is when the challenge of pro sport and branding became an open target, and it turned into a circus Nothing worked. Everything failed. We thought the USFL was bad. This whole thing is just going to be a nightmare.
Oh, my goodness. What are we doing? Anything you're looking for in the next preseason game?
I think, honestly, I'd like to see both quarterbacks play again. I'm enjoying the competition that they've had. Even I think it's over. I mean, we all kind of knew that obviously Oliver's going to be on the team. Rodgers is going to be the starter. If they're going to keep 4 quarterbacks, that's interesting, I guess. I don't know what they're going to do with that or why they want to sacrifice depth somewhere else. But I really think it could be because they think Will Howard's going to get picked up on waivers. They might keep the 4 of them, then cut him before the first week, so he doesn't get his salary guaranteed all year, and pick him up on the practice squad after everyone else is added to their roster. But a good performance makes him tradable. A good performance, if Rudolph gets in there, makes him tradable. Another thing we barely discussed, Rudolph looked really good in his outing in preseason. Yeah. Not to say that they've got this spoil of riches like Montana and Young times 2, but they do have some interesting pieces, and it's fun to see the younger guys get out there and show how they've developed and what they can learn from week to week. And one more opportunity to see that before things get real. It looks like a pretty good opportunity for me.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Neal Coolong in this half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance and MECTEC. Now, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at MECTEC Diversified Construction. They're a professional engineering and land surveying company that's been providing civil engineering and survey services since 1971. Diversified Construction, well, they offer a variety of construction services varying from accessible home modifications to commercial and light industrial construction. Together, MECTEC and Diversified are proud to be the consumer choice in the Susquehanna Valley and beyond. And the choice of Eagles fans and many more than just Eagles fans is always Merrill Reese. My good friend, welcome back.
Great to be back. I am president of the Steve Jones Fan Club.
I heard the election was close. All right, so
between me and Steve Jones.
Oh, exactly right. I mean, I voted no on me. So I mean, the 1,000 names, of course, you have to get ready for in the preseason. I'm sure
only 90 a game.
Only 90 a game. Other than that, oh my goodness, is there value in preseason games still, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there is, and to me, the value is giving young players a chance to shine, giving guys a chance to make the team with more than just performances in non-contact drills. I mean, for example, there was a guy in the game the other night who we saw in practice, but you really didn't get a real value from him. And then we saw him in the game, Carson Steele, who was a running back / fullback, and he found himself into the game the other night longer than he could because it was a short number in the running back department, and he really played well. He really has a chance to make this team. So I think to give these kids, these young players, an opportunity, they need at least 2 preseason games.
That's a good point. And I'll say that, but at the same time, they do, of course, these scrimmages, these practices leading up to it. And Saquon Barkley was open about it. He says he doesn't really like it. Do you see value in that? And of the players that don't like it, what are some of the reasons they've given?
Well, Saquon said that 1 is enough.
Yes.
Because the next day, the first day, it's great to hit somebody other than your teammates. But by the second day, that gets old, and they're pushing, and they're shoving, and they're fighting. And basically, I think Saquon said it's a waste of time.
And I think he's right about that, because I think at some point it does become a waste of time.
I think that Saquon could probably stay on the golf course until September 13th and come in and run for 120 yards.
Oh, you and I both know that. I mean, believe me, the TV commercial he's doing now, where he's jumping through hoops and jumping up and so forth.
Oh yeah.
You and I both know, even though it's produced and it's a version of it, he actually probably could do it. So it's like,
I'll tell you something. My partner in the booth, Mike Quick, well. Mike Quick claims that he used to have an agreement with Harry Gamble and his agent Jim Solano, that when contract terms came about, the talks came about, that they both agreed that Harry wouldn't make a really good offer and Jim Solano wouldn't accept anything until training camp was about to end.
Which, darn well, these guys come in and go, for some reason, Mike looks, excuse the expression, quick.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, the other guys have been beaten up for the last month. The backup quarterback spot is always going to be an important one in this league, because quarterbacks do get contact. Jalen is very smart about how he accepts contact. It doesn't mean something crazy can't happen. How have you viewed the other quarterbacks who have played in this preseason as to what they can bring to the table value-wise in an emergency if needed?
Well, the experience goes in the favor, of course, of Andy Dalton, who's in his 16th year, and he looks good to me. I mean, people criticize him for the inaccuracies on Saturday night, but that didn't mean a thing. I mean, it's a preseason game. The backup people are in there, and I think that Andy Dalton's had a pretty good camp. Tanner McKee certainly has his share of talent. He's a pure drop-back quarterback with a big arm, but he hasn't really played in a meaningful NFL game. And then the third quarterback is Cole Payton out of North Dakota State. That scares me a little bit because of what's happened to the one North Dakota State quarterback that we loved.
Yeah.
Although when they drafted Carson Wentz, it was the right draft choice because he was terrific early in his career. It was after the injury that he never was the same. But all kidding aside, Cole Payton's a very talented type of quarterback. He's not little. He's about 6'3", 225, and he can move and he can throw, a left-hander, but he's not ready. I mean, he's a basic third quarterback right now, or if they put him on the practice squad. How about you if they put him on the practice squad, somebody would claim him? That would be dangerous because he does have talent. So are they comfortable enough with Tanner McKee to make him the backup? I don't know. When you get to crunch time and you're playing a big game and let's say Jalen twists an ankle and has to go out for a while, do you want a quarterback in there who has not been under that kind of pressure, or do you want a quarterback in there who may not be youthful but can look at the defense and read it instantly and perform under pressure? I'm not saying Tanner McKee couldn't, but I'm saying look at the difference between 16 years and what Tanner McKee has in his third.
Well, there's also this other issue that's now come up. Tanner McKee could be put on the practice squad, and LSU would pick him up. So, I mean, that's...
yeah. I didn't hear that before, but I think you're right.
I don't know where we're going. I have no idea.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
Could pick him up, too.
Oh, sure. What the heck? Why not? I mean, Lane Kiffin obviously will take anybody. I mean, so it doesn't really matter who you're playing for. Is there anybody defensively that you've looked at and you say, you know what, I'm seeing something that's better, improved, could really help this team?
Well, we haven't seen Grainer yet because he's had an injury, but I think he will play, and he'll be a major factor. I'm going to tell you something right now, Steve. We've seen him play before, and we've seen him shine and flash from time to time. The guy who's going to be a major star is number 58, and that is Jalix Hunt.
Yep.
He is a talent. He does something every day that makes you say, wow. I think, and last year he'd have some big moments, but I think he's going to go from a good player to a Pro Bowl caliber edge rusher. I think he's really special. And another guy who has played well this summer, and we saw again when he played last year, he always plays well, and he came in with a famous name, and that's young Trot, Jeremiah Jr.
Yeah. You know, and you know what? And I'm not surprised about him. And as for the other one, I mean, I look at him. I think when you're an athlete that has instincts, and I think he has both, I think you become a special package player out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's sensational. Now, you know who else has looked good for the most part is Reek Woolen, former Seattle Seahawk. I mean, you don't see many 6'4" corners, but he made some big plays the other day in the combined workouts that they had before the Patriots game. But he's been good all summer. I'm anxious to see him as the other corner this year with Quinyon Mitchell.
And I'll say this, being the other corner from Quinyon Mitchell, I mean, I don't care who you put out there. That means that smart teams will attack you, and because they don't want to throw at Mitchell. That means you've got to be the tougher guy out there. And do you sense that he has the ability to be the tougher guy? Because at least initially they'll test him before they test Mitchell.
I will wait and see. He's played well in the past. He's made some mistakes with some personal fouls and flaunting and stuff like that, taunting. But he's a good player. He's a good athlete and a very nice guy, by the way. Very, very likable.
All right, so let's get to Mekhi Lemon. I know he's been out for a period of time with a hamstring. What does he bring to the table that can balance out the really phenomenal Devontae Smith?
Well, you know Mike Mayock. He's been around a long time. Yep. Mike Mayock told me that he was his favorite player in the whole draft. Now, we haven't seen enough of him here because he's had the lingering hamstring, but he's back now. He took part in the short practice yesterday. Tonight is an open practice in the stadium, and I have a feeling we're going to see quite a bit of him running some patterns tonight. I doubt that they will use him in the final preseason game, but he's obviously talented. I mean, he was ranked in most publications as the second-best wide receiver in the draft. And he's a nice kid, and he's a quick kid. He's not overly big, and he's not blindingly fast, although he is fast. I'm anxious to see him, and I saw him play some great games at Southern Cal. So I'm anxious to see what he does up here. But, you know, I'll tell you something, Steve. Somebody I still liked a lot is no longer here this year, and I always felt they should have used Johan Dotson more than they did. But they didn't, although he made a huge play at the beginning of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it would have been fun if they'd ruled that a touchdown.
But what a great kid he is.
Oh, he's unbelievable. You can't say enough good things about it. He is just a phenomenal person and a phenomenal player. I'll say this about Lemon. USC had a bevy of wide receivers when Penn State went out there in 24. And in doing the game, Jack Ham and I thought that Lemon, who was number 6, I believe, with USC, was just we're like, this guy is a cut above, because you may not talk about over-the-top speed, but like certain guys have the ability to run routes and get themselves open because they're quick enough to do it, but they're very precise in how you do it. And it just seemed that's what the two of us saw in him, that he got open because there was a precision to his game.
Yeah. Well, the other guy that I want to see more of, and I loved him at Oklahoma, is Hollywood Brown.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
can
think
he run?
Right. Oh, and he can absolutely fly. And I think what this does for Jalen Hurts, I think he can now look out there, and I think he can go anywhere he wants, whenever he wants, and feels comfortable he's going to get something out of it. Are you seeing the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I think Jalen's going to have a great season. He is such a special guy. I told you last year the story about the shoes. So I don't want to repeat that one, but I will tell you what he did this year. He's not Mr. Media, and when he does a press conference, he gives you a little something, and he's polite, but he doesn't really open up. He's more mild-mannered and quiet. So he on his own went to the Eagles this spring and said, it's Merrill's 50th year. I'd like to do a TV thing with him and do an interview with him. So they called me and said, would you do an interview with Jalen Hurts? I said, what time? And so I went down there, and we both went up into the draft room, the war room, and they had it all set up with cameras, and they had playbacks of former famous plays. And I sat there with Jalen Hurts. Steve, it wasn't an interview. It was an hour-long conversation between two people who like and respect each other. I can't wait to see it. And with film clips involved and everything, he is amazing. He is one of my favorite people ever.
Yeah, and I've never had the privilege of meeting him, but that's all I've ever heard from people. And he's a coach's son. He carries himself like a coach's son. So with this being the 50th, I was going to save this to the end anyway. Hey, have you taken? I know you had to sit back and probably do the look back with him, but have you taken a look back, or in so many ways, part of your success has always been, to me, the ability to look forward to the next one, and you really have not looked back. So have you afforded yourself the time to do that, or is it still the same approach of looking forward to the okay, I got to make sure I got 90 guys on that team and 90 on that team for that preseason game, and then September 13th, it's go time?
Okay. In the first place, let me tell you, this is not a farewell tour. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, no.
So
that's right.
The number doesn't mean anything to me because I hope to do it for many years to come. Okay, so aside from that, it's been difficult not to look back because the WIP, which carries the Eagles games, has had a thing going on, Merrill's 50th best plays. So each day is a countdown. So I can't help but listening to things going way back to they stopped them again against the Dallas Cowboys, or the Randall Cunningham to Fred Barnett 50-yard pass in Buffalo. So I'm hearing it all back every day and trying to figure out what play is coming up next. And then WIP is doing a big thing on the 15th of September at a large auditorium in Collingswood, New Jersey, called Merrill Live. And they're going to celebrate it. It's not on the air, but it will be hosted by Joe Camera, who does the morning show. And there will be a lot of guests coming on and a lot of film. But I don't know who and I don't know what, except that I'm going to be there. And I think Merrill Live is a lot better than Merrill did.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.
Yeah, you don't want to have something where the word memorial is in there. So, it's interesting you said it the way you said it, because Don Fisher at Indiana, who, of course, they're coming off that great run to the title. Don's going into his 54th season at Indiana, and he went into his 50th. And all I said to him is, "Hey, it's remarkable, 50 years, whatever." And he said, "Hey, Steve, I'm not retiring yet." And sometimes people will see a number, like, because in basketball for me, this is my 45th coming up, and for football it's my 35th. Okay, so those are my numbers. But I'd be the same as you. It's like, hey guys, I'm not going anywhere. And look, you are about as humble an individual as I've ever been around in my life. And even this, for a humble individual like you, I mean, no ego. All this has to be humbling for you, isn't it?
Well, it's fun. It's fun, and I'm glad that people appreciate it. But I feel great. In fact, this summer I played an average of 4 or 5 days a week on the golf course. That's a lot of golf. And
so did I.
And I was just out hitting balls for about an hour before I came on with you today. So I very, very active. I stay in shape. I work out hard, and I love what I'm doing as much or more than ever. And guess what? I still get absolutely nervous before every single Eagles game. And I wake up and I can feel the pounding of my chest, and I don't eat food once I get to the stadium. And it doesn't go away until my producer, Joe McPeak, cues me, and I come on, and then I just float for 3.5 hours. Yeah. So I think that means, and I've heard athletes talk about pregame jitters, it just means that it's the most important thing in the world to you, other than family and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I mean, of the things you do, and it still has that importance, and you still want to be at your best every single game. And so I love it as much as ever.
Now, see, what's interesting about what we do is that we have, now not every place has great seats, but for the most part, we.
Are you going to tell me that?
I mean, a Landover? No. Okay.
No.
Because you and I have both done.
Worse. There's worse.
I did the Pinstripe Bowl.
Who worked in Las Vegas in a new stadium tell me it's absolutely impossible. Miami. Here's another thing. Some of the old stadiums that have been redesigned. At one time, Miami was fine. Now you're in a corner of the end zone where you can't see a third of the field. I mean, the seats get worse. SoFi Stadium. It's called SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Yeah. I refuse to call it SoFi. I refer to it on the air as SoFi Stadium. We're in the back of the end zone. The back of the end zone.
Because I did Landover, so you and I know that view. I did the Orange Bowl. I did it in 2006. You're at the 50-yard line. Then I did it a year and a half ago, and there's that corner where Jack Ham looked at me. He says, there are people that have way better seats than we do. I said, unbelievable. And then I did the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium in the Yankees broadcast booth, which, of course, is behind home plate, which means it's behind the uprights.
My wife had a better seat for the Super Bowl than I did.
There's
no doubt about it. But you know what? Sometimes, now, the link, by the way, is very, very good.
I love the link.
MetLife is great.
Yes.
Great. But one of the great stadiums to work in? It's the ugliest stadium I've ever seen from the outside. It's a monstrosity. But I just worked there Saturday night in New England at Gillette Stadium.
Yeah.
What a great view.
Isn't it?
Gosh, it's good.
It's incredible. You are a treasure. So I will just say, you are a treasure, and it's a privilege. You and I both know what a privilege the job is, but it's also a privilege having friendships. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. I can't wait to talk again, my friend.
Hey, go Birds and go Nittany Lions.
The best, the Hall of Famer, Merrill Reese. And we will come back More in a moment, brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street and Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com and News Radio 1070 WKOK.